Hi everybody, welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Lene Gehrig, and today I have a fantastic cutting die from hot off the press. This is 5 elliptical cutting dies, and they measure 1 by 3 7/8 to 3 3/4 by 6 3/8. Okay, so lots of different shapes, lots of different sizes to our shapes. Here is a card that I made with this. It's a tunnel card. Okay, and this is our giveaway card for this episode. So if you stick around, you'll learn how one lucky viewer can win this card to keep or share with a friend. So come play with us. All right, so the elliptical cutting die, they're like an elongated oval, but different. Elliptical comes from the word elliptic shape. Okay, so it's like that racetrack shape. And I have lots of ideas about what you can do with it. So this is a 5 by 6.5 inch card. Let me show you what I made. First of all, I used our Gnomes and More Gnomes, excuse me, 12 by 12 pattern cardstock. And on the back of this, or the base of this card, I used this one right here, which is just a real screen back version of all the little mushrooms here. But I used the top part of it because I wanted to save the mushrooms for another card. So there's lots of room up here, and this is just lots of ferns and things like that. And then on the back of the cutout page, the card toppers, right here, we've got all these ferns. So that's where I used like this fern pattern, the fern with white, to cut out all of my shapes and layers for my tunnel card. All right, so I'll go through everything I used here, and then I'm going to show you how I did the tunnel card if you're not familiar. Now, these mushroom cutting dies came from the Gnomes and More Gnomes cutting die set. So all 3 different sizes of these mushrooms. You get the little baby one, it's so cute. And then I went ahead and I used the coordinating like tan cardstocks in here to cut each of the mushrooms, all right? And then I wanted to make the caps red, so I used our tomato red suede paper. If you're not familiar with our suede paper, it's fabric feel on one side, and then the other side it's paper. It die cuts and embosses beautifully. So this was always really fun to use. This shape right here has a separate cap to it so that you can just die cut this separately and glue it on. These two, you do have to die cut them and then cut the cap off of them. And so I just went ahead and did that. I inked the edges of these considerably, actually, of the brown or tan cardstock with a little bit of cocoa bean ink. And then I used just my favorite little applicator tool to do that, just to shade around that. And then cut out some of these beautiful ferns using the Gnomes and More Gnomes. It has 3 actually beautiful shades of green for that. And of course inked all of the edges of each one of these as elliptical shapes. And then You're Just Because and You're the Best came from our Tiny Words and Phrases Dazzle Stickers collection. They come in all these different colors and in one pack, and I use this sort of bronzy brown shade for that. Let's see, what else can I show you? Yeah, how I did this elliptical. So the first thing to do the tunnel shape, you start off with the largest oval. I keep calling them oval instead of ellipticals because they are kind of an elongated oval, but elliptical is technically the shape. So I started off with this one, and then I moved down to the next size, which is this one, and I die cut that from the center. So that gives you this outer frame, all right? Then I moved to the next size down, keeping this same size, and I went and I did that one, okay? That gives you this size frame. And then finally, to get this right here, I went ahead and did it from this one right here. And then you're gonna foam tape one on top of the other, so it gives you this great tunnel shape. This outer shape stays the same on each of the 3 layers. And that way it makes it really easy when you're taping it because they just stack up. You just have to align the outer edges here. It makes it really simple. And then ink the edges of those and then used foam tape. I used our, oops, it's kind of sticky. Used our giant wheel of foam tape. Ooh, there we are. It is 150 feet or 50 yards of a 1/2 inch wide continuous foam tape, which is so great. And I use that in between each layer, except for the bottom. So this one is glued, and then foam tape, foam tape. And then once I got these glued down, that first one, I didn't glue right on the edge, and then I just tucked my mushroom in there. So this one got set down first, then I built up all of the little tunnel pieces, and then I went ahead and added the ferns and things. So this was a really easy card to put together, and it is our giveaway card. So how that works is we are promoting our Paper Wishes YouTube channel. So if you're watching us on our Paper Wishes webisode page, hop on over to YouTube, Paper Wishes, we ask you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up or like it, and leave us a comment. And then after about a week, we'll reply again to one comment saying, congratulations, YouTube username blank. So the YouTube username is the username that you signed up for when you registered or subscribed to YouTube. So you have to know that. And then we just give you instructions on how to claim your card. So we really hope that you participate. We do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of our videos. So we give away 3 cards a week. So yeah, this was a fun one to make. All right, so the next one, this one, I just used the largest die to make the entire card into a shape. When you open it up, it's got fun stuff on the inside too. So how I did this one is I used Golden Botanical, which is beautiful 12 by 12 pattern cardstock from hot off the press. And I used this one right here and this one right here. And I took this one, covered my 5 by 6.5 inch card, glue adhesive, whatever adhesive you like best. And then I took the largest die and I just overlapped the fold so that the die on the edge just extends beyond the fold, okay? And then I turned this and then ran this through my die cutting machine. This is only 5 inches wide, so it goes through a 6-inch wide platform perfectly. Okay, so then I have this oval shape right here that's covered with this beautiful paper. And then I took the next size down, which is this shape, and I used this paper right here, and I just put it off towards the side. It's actually this one right here on the very front. I just die cut it from this area right here, just a little bit like this, so I had a beautiful scene on the left side, left a little bit more room over here, okay? So then I inked the edges of both of the shapes, and I foam taped this one to the center of this one. Then I used, these are We're Together Dazzle Stickers collection, and they come in this pack full of all these different colors. Now you get 2 sheets. You get this one and this one, and they're different greetings, but then you get silver, white, and this bronzy brown color all together, okay? And so I chose Friend to put on the front, and then there's all these tiny little flowers on here, and I used those to put around this. And then I used blue mirror dazzle sticker, jewel dazzle stickers, these tiny little dots, and I forgot to grab those, but they're listed down below our video if you're watching us on Paper Wishes webisode page. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just look below the video in the description box and it'll take you to this webisode page. So yeah, I just added those all the way around, and then right here I wanted to add some beautiful gold ribbon from our gold and silver ribbon collection. I used this crepe ribbon right here and just attach that, and then when we go to the inside, I used that same shape right here and right here, and I cut those from this paper right here, this sort of light green fern, kind of a meadow paper. Inked the edges, glued that here, same paper is here, and then these are cutouts from the cutout sheet, so is this one. So glued and then foam taped. Don't forget to ink the edges of the cutouts. I think it really makes a difference after you've cut them out. And then added some more of those little blue jewel dazzles, kind of like they're berries. And then here added some more of the little flowers from that greeting collection with little jewel dazzles at the center. So this was a fun one to make. All right. Now what have I got to show you? Here we go. So it's time to get out the honeybees. So we have Be Happy collection And I made this card with a bee theme, so cute. This is a 5x7 and this is a tent fold card. And for this one, I just took this 12x12 Be Happy patterned cardstock from hot off the press, and I selected, let's see, which one did I select? I think it's this one right here. Yes, it's the one that's a little bit ghosted back. And I took this die, cut the paper to fit my card first, and then I put this die on the center of it, ran it through my die cutting machine. So let's look at it on this plain piece right here. I took it like the paper like this, and then I put this die right here. Then inked the edges with that cocoa bean ink, beautiful. I put some of this honeycomb paper in this golden color behind this, so behind here, and then plunked that right down. And then this shape right here, went ahead and cut it from the same paper, inked the edges of that, and this one is foam taped to the center. Go. And then I used the coordinating chipboard pieces, which were so fun, and I did a lot of inking on these. So let me move this out of the way and we'll get comfortable and I will show you all the different inking I used. So for the little honeycomb, so cute, I used warm honey, very appropriate, to go ahead and ink my little cute little honey beehive here. And then around the edges of that, I used mustard. And I should mention I used the sponge daubers to do all of this. So I had that done, glued that right down here. These little flowers, I inked 2 of them with buttercup, 1 of them with warm honey, and then just put these black Jewel Dazzle stickers on the centers and glued them here. Here we have the little purple lavender flowers. For this one, I used violet ink, but I just didn't put very much on there, so it really is a much deeper purple. As you can see, the same purple is right here, and I just went really lightly on this. Now to get the leaves, you guys, I used khaki ink. I actually just took a Post-it note and kind of tore some scrap paper and just sort of masked off this area and then did those little leaves. Same thing right here with this beautiful flower. Did khaki ink all the way down and then added a little buttercup to the center. And then these are little lavender sprigs, so khaki here and here. And then did lavender here, but then this one I wanted to add a little bit deeper color, so I added a little Prussian blue to that one. And then the smile down at the bottom, that's all Prussian blue. Oh, and the bee, I forgot to mention the bee. For the bee, once again, masked off this area and then used some charcoal ink and then just used a little dove gray right over their wings. Oh, and added my favorite, I love gingham ribbon, so I added a little of the navy blue gingham ribbon there at the top. Just used some Cosmic Shimmer glue to glue all these pieces to this elliptical shape. And yeah, I think this one turned out really fun. Okay, one more to show you. This was a little different. So I made a little 3D basket using the elliptical, and this was so easy to make, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. First thing I want to tell you is what I used. So that would be, for the actual base of it, I used our 110-pound weight craft chipboard. Not chipboard, craft cardstock. It's really thick. It's not too far off from chipboard, actually. I used that to begin with, and I started out with the largest oval. So that was this shape right here. And then we're going to cut it in half. So I have all these pieces cut. We're going to actually assemble this. All right. So I cut the largest oval in half, like this. And then initially, you guys, I was going to make this a little rocker piece, but when you add all the flowers to it and everything, there comes a weight distribution problem. And so it was really getting heavy on one side or the other. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to cut the bottom edge. So the bottom edge of both of those pieces, just cut like a little 1/8 of an inch off of each one. And that way it just sets there just nice. It doesn't rock, but you don't have to worry about balancing your flowers, which you know, you just want to play with the paper, right? You don't want to have to do math. So that was what I did, okay? You could make it a rocker if you want to do that. All right, so once we get to this piece right here, then we're going to take 2 of these shapes. Let me dig this out. Here we go. Okay, this one is the same as this one right here. It's the smallest one. And then I took my little scoreboard, and we're just going to do a couple little scores on each one. All right, so I am going to score each end of this at 1.5 inches, right there, 1.5 inches, then turn it and score it again at 1.5 inches. And I did that on both pieces. Oops. And then you're just going to fold those over like this. There we go. Now, I used Cosmic Shimmer glue to put this together, but I don't want to have to worry about dry time for this. So I'm just going to use some super strong tape on here, if I can find the end of it. There it is. All right, and we're just going to put a little bit of tape on each piece. And as I said, you can absolutely, in fact, I would encourage you to use glue on this. But here we go. So once we get this taped up, then what we're going to do is put each one of these on the inside. And I'm going to show you my original here. Okay, so, ooh. There we go. That's what the side pieces are right here. Do you see how they're glued right in here? That's what we're going to do. So I just like to burnish this little tape a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to tape this to the inside, top edge aligned with the side too. So it's important to get it aligned here as well. Okay, there's one side. And then we got to put tape on the other side. Oops. Cut into that a little bit. I mean, you could put tape over that entire piece, but it doesn't need to be that strong. All right, and now we're going to take this one, and we're going to do the same thing right there. Okay, do you see that shape right there? Now all we have to do, take this one off. I'm going to tape that right like this. Oh no. All right, so got some more adhesive on there. So let's go ahead and put it like this. All right, and if you want this to be wider, then you could make it wider by using different shapes. So if you want a thicker side, or if you don't want it to be this thin, you could, instead of scoring it at 1.5 inches on each end, you could score it at 1 inch and it would get thicker, okay? So once we get to this point right here, then I went ahead and I took this shape, which was, where's my original? Here it is. Okay, that's the second size down. And I went ahead and cut the beautiful red gingham paper. It's from gingham number 1. Okay, beautiful paper. And I die cut one of those and cut it in half, and then just put the gingham paper right here. And then for the little handles, went back to this smallest shape once again. Die cut 2 of those. And then I just cut strips of that gingham paper, okay, and just a little bit smaller, inked the edges of all of those. So at this point you would cover these with a little bit, or put the gingham paper right here. And then it's a good idea, we're making the handle, so it's a good idea to go ahead and curve it like this. And this one. And then we're going to take one end of the tape on one end of this one. Take that off. Right, just overlapping the ends. And then we can take the tape off of each one of these ends. And we're just going to, we're going to just stick that right there. And on the opposite side, we're going to stick that right there. And that's how you get your little basket shape, right? So easy to make. And because we've cut this off of the bottom, it doesn't rock. You could make yours rock if you'd like. All right, and then I used Flower Frenzy cutting die, and then a couple of different paper packs because I wanted to get all the colors that I wanted. So the yellow came from Be Happy, and then Strawberry Delight, I used the red and the greens and the white, and then this little shape right here, that's one of these right here, and inked the edges of that to put my little label on the front. Used Sending Smiles, so cute, okay. Dazzle stickers, added that in black, and then added a white Jewel Dazzle sticker to the center of all the different flowers. As far as the flowers goes, you guys, I just took them like this, and then I just took my fingers and kind of folded them forward, just like that. All right, and then took another size, put a little dot of foam tape, place that in the center, and then just put a little white Jewel Dazzle there. And then you can either glue these directly to the card box like this or the little basket, or you can put a little foam tape. With these little yellow ones, it's the same size as this red one. And I just did the same thing. I just sort of pulled forward the petals like that for a little dimension, little foam tape, right there, little white Jewel Dazzle, very simple. And then on the back of your box, if you wanted to do this, you could just take this blank little shape, put a little foam tape on it, put that right there, and then you've got a little place to write your greeting. Okay, so it would be an actual card. All right, you guys, these were super fun to make. I love this elliptical shape. It was just really versatile. I think you can see that there's lots to do. Lots of fun to be had. This, I think, is a great one to have in your toolbox. So this is our giveaway card. There's a fantastic money saver on the Elliptical collection. I think there's extra goodies to go with that for a money saver. So definitely check that out. All of the items are shown down below the video, as well as full color card photos of each card. And if you're watching us over on YouTube, hi, it would be great if you would subscribe. It really helps our channel and our company grow. But listed down below the video in the description box is a link that'll take you right over to this paper webisode. Thanks for joining me today, you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.